Love isn't always loud. It's not always obvious. It's not always expressed in the way we expect it to be. And if you're looking for love from an avoidant person, you have to understand something. What feels natural to them might not look like love at all on the surface. But that doesn't mean it isn't there. It doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they love in their own language. An avoidant doesn't pour out their emotions easily. They don't always say, I love you in the moments you want to hear it. They may not text all day or crave constant closeness. And if you're used to a different kind of love, one that feels more verbal, more expressive, more physically present, you might start to wonder if they care at all. But here's the truth. Love for them is often quieter. It's in the details. It's in the things they do rather than the things they say. They love you in the way they show up, even when words don't come easy. They might not gush over you, but they'll remember the little things. They'll bring you something you mentioned in passing weeks ago. They'll make sure you're taken care of in practical ways, fixing things, offering solutions, making sure you're safe. They might not express their love in the way you're used to, but they express it in the way that feels safe to them. For an avoidant, closeness is complicated. It's not that they don't want it. It's that deep down, love can feel like a risk. It can feel like something that might take away their independence, their sense of control. And so they love cautiously. They love in a way that allows them to hold on to their sense of self while still making room for you. That's why sometimes it feels like they're keeping you at arm's length. But pay attention, because even in that space, they're still connected. They may need distance, but they come back. They may not open up easily, but when they do, it's real. They may not need constant reassurance, but if they're still choosing to be there, still choosing to share their time, still choosing you, that's love. Most people misunderstand this. They think that if love isn't loud, it doesn't exist. But love isn't just about grand gestures and passionate words. It's in the consistency. It's in the reliability. It's in the way they respect your independence because they value their own. It's in the way they don't try to control you, the way they don't rush the process, the way they show love in small, practical ways that often go unnoticed. And if you're with someone who's avoidant, you have to learn to see it. You have to recognize that just because they don't express love the way you do doesn't mean they don't love you. Their love is in the way they make an effort, even when it's uncomfortable for them. It's in the way they listen, even if they don't respond right away. It's in the way they're still there, even when they need space. Because the truth is, love isn't one size fits all. People love in different ways. And when you stop expecting it to look a certain way and start recognizing it for what it is, you begin to see just how deeply you are loved. Even if that love isn't always spoken out loud. Love with an avoidant can feel like a dance, one step forward, one step back. Just when you think you're getting close, they pull away. And if you don't understand what's happening, it can feel personal. It can feel like rejection, like you're doing something wrong. But the truth is, this push-pull dynamic isn't about you. It's about them. It's about their relationship with closeness, their need for independence, and the way they've learned to protect themselves. Avoidants crave connection just like anyone else, but deep down, intimacy can feel overwhelming. It's not that they don't want to be close, it's that closeness triggers something inside them. A fear of losing themselves, a fear of being too vulnerable, a fear that if they let someone in too much, they might lose control. And so, even when they care, even when they want to be near you, there's a part of them that needs to pull back. It's not because they don't love you, it's because love for them is something that has to be carefully managed. If you're in a relationship with an avoidant, you've probably felt it. Those moments where everything feels good, where you feel like they're finally letting you in, only for them to suddenly create distance. Maybe they become less responsive. Maybe they seem emotionally checked out. Maybe they start spending more time alone, caught up in their own world. And if you're not careful, you start chasing, you start asking what's wrong. You start pushing for reassurance, for answers, for connection. But the more you push, the more they pull away, not because they don't care, but because pressure makes them feel like they're losing control of their own space. This is the cycle: closeness, then distance, connection, then withdrawal. And if you don't understand it, it can make you feel like you're always on unstable ground. Like no matter what you do, you can never fully relax in the relationship. But when you do understand it, you realize that pulling away is just part of how they regulate intimacy. It's not a sign that they're done. It's not a sign that they don't love you. It's their way of keeping the balance between wanting connection and needing space. So what do? You stop chasing. You stop seeing their withdrawal as a rejection and start seeing it for what it is, a natural part of how they move in relationships. The moment you stop trying to close the gap, something interesting happens. They come back. They reach out. They reconnect. Because what avoidants fear isn't love itself, but feeling like they have no control over it. When you give them the space they need, you show them that love doesn't have to be suffocating. It doesn't have to mean losing themselves, and over time, that safety allows them to stay longer, to open up more, to let the cycle of withdrawal become less and less extreme. The push-pull dynamic is frustrating when you don't understand it. But when you do, you realize it's not about breaking the cycle, it's about learning how to move with it. Learning how to give them space without fear, learning how to let them come back without resentment. And when you do that, you start to see that an avoidant does love, you just have to recognize the rhythm in which they do. Love with an avoidant isn't about forcing them to change. It's not about convincing them to be more expressive, to need less space, to show up in a way that feels more comfortable for you. It's about creating an environment where they feel safe enough to come closer on their own. And that starts with understanding what safety means to them. For someone with an avoidant of an attachment, safety isn't found in constant reassurance or emotional intensity. It's not in deep conversations about feelings or in grand romantic gestures. Safety for them is found in consistency. It's found in knowing they won't be pressured, that they can have space without it turning into an argument, that they can show up as themselves without the fear of being smothered or controlled. The moment they feel like they have to be someone they're not, they shut down, they withdraw. And suddenly the connection that was starting to build disappears. That's why so many people in relationships with avoidance feel like they're walking on eggshells. You get close and then something shifts. You can feel them pulling away, but you don't know why. So you start searching for the reason. Did you say something wrong? Did you do something to push them away? And in that uncertainty, you start trying to fix it. You start asking more questions, reaching out more, trying to pull them back in. But instead of fixing the problem, it makes it worse. They retreat even further, and now you're stuck in the very thing you were trying to avoid. The key isn't to chase them, it's to create an emotional environment where they don't feel the need to run. And that means understanding that space isn't rejection. Silence isn't abandonment. Distance isn't always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it's just their way of resetting. It's how they process their emotions. It's how they keep themselves from feeling overwhelmed. And when they know they can take that space without it turning into conflict, they start to trust the relationship more. They start to trust you more. Trust for an avoidant isn't built through words, it's built through experience. They need to see that you won't punish them for needing time. They need to know that you won't take their quiet moments as a personal attack. They need to feel that your presence is steady, not demanding. And when they feel that, something shifts. They begin to relax in the relationship. They begin to open up more, not because they're being pushed to, but because they finally feel safe enough to do it. And here's the paradox: when they feel safe, they actually start needing less space. They stop pulling away as much. They start leaning into the relationship instead of fearing it. Not because they've been forced to change, but because they've finally been given an environment where love doesn't feel like something they have to protect themselves from. Most people try to love an avoidant by asking for more and more closeness, more communication, more connection. But the real key is in giving them the space to come forward at their own pace. Because when they do, when they feel safe enough to stay, that's when you'll see just how deeply they are capable of loving. Love isn't always about words. It's not always about hearing "I love you" or getting long emotional messages. Sometimes love is in the things that go unnoticed, the small actions, the quiet moments, the way someone chooses to show up in your life. And when it comes to an avoidant, this is exactly how they love. They don't always express their feelings verbally, but that doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they show love differently. An avoidant may not flood you with compliments or affection, but they remember the things that matter to you. They notice when you're tired and make sure you have what you need. They might not say much when you're going through something difficult, but they're still there making sure you're okay in their own way. It's in the way they fix things around the house instead of giving a big speech about how much they care. It's in the way they share parts of their world with you, whether it's letting you into their routine, inviting you to their quiet moments, or simply staying close without saying a word. For an avoidant, love isn't about constant reassurance. It's about presence. They might not be overly expressive, but they are consistent. They show up when it matters. They support you in practical ways. They solve problems instead of talking about them endlessly. And if you're waiting for them to suddenly change and become someone who expresses love the way you do, you'll miss what's right in front of you. Because the truth is, they are already loving you. They're just doing it in the way they know how. The mistake most people make is assuming that love only looks one way. That it has to be verbal, that it has to be romantic, that it has to be obvious. But love is so much more than that. And if you're with an avoidant, you have to learn to see the way they express it. Because when you do, you start to realize just how much they care. It's in their reliability. It's in their actions. It's in the way they make sure you're okay, even when they don't have the words to say it out loud. And here's the thing: when they start to feel safe, when they know their love is recognized, they begin to soften. They begin to open up more. Not because they were forced to, but because they feel understood. And when that happens, you start to see a deeper side of them, a side that was always there, just waiting for the right moment to be fully seen. Space is not the enemy of love. In fact, for an avoidant, space is what makes love sustainable. It's how they stay in a relationship without feeling overwhelmed, how they recharge so they can actually show up in a way that feels right for them. But if you don't understand this, it's easy to take it personally. It's easy to see their need for space as a sign that they don't care, that they're pulling away, that they're slipping through your fingers. And when that fear kicks in, the instinct is to close the gap, to ask more questions, to seek more reassurance, to try to pull them back in. But the more you do that, the more they retreat. Not because they don't want to be with you, but because they feel like they're losing themselves in the process. Avoidants don't distance themselves because they want to leave. They do it because for them, too much closeness too quickly feels like drowning. They've spent so much of their lives learning to rely on themselves, to be independent, to be self-sufficient, that intimacy, even when it's something they genuinely want, can feel like a threat to their autonomy. So they instinctively create space. It's not rejection, it's not abandonment, it's their way of staying connected without feeling like they're losing control. But here's the paradox: the more they feel like they can have space without conflict, the less they need to take it. The more they trust that they can step back when they need to, the more they actually step forward. It's when they feel pressured, when they feel like they have no choice but to be constantly available, that they start pulling away for good. So what does this mean for you? It means that instead of seeing space as a problem, you start seeing it as a part of the rhythm of the relationship. Instead of reacting with fear when they withdraw, you learn to hold steady. You trust that they will come back. Not because you force them to, but because they feel safe enough to do so. And when that shift happens, everything changes. Because the truth is, love isn't about being in each other's faces 24/7. It's about understanding each other's needs and respecting them. And for an avoidant, space is a need. It's not something to be fixed or eliminated. It's something that, when handled correctly, actually allows the relationship to grow. Most people think that closeness is built by always being together, by always talking, by always filling every moment with connection. But real closeness, the kind that lasts, is built on trust. It's built on knowing that you don't have to chase someone to keep them close. That their love isn't something that needs to be forced. That when you give them room to breathe, they don't leave, they actually come back stronger. Growth in love doesn't happen overnight. It's not about flipping a switch and suddenly having the perfect relationship. It's about small shifts, small moments, and the space to let those changes happen naturally. And when you're in a relationship with an avoidant, growth looks different. It doesn't always come in the form of big emotional breakthroughs or sudden declarations of love. It comes in the way they start to trust the connection more. It comes in the way they begin to lean into. It comes in the way they show up more consistently, more openly, and in a way that feels right for them. Avoidants don't change because they're pressured to. They don't suddenly become more expressive because someone demands it. They grow when they feel safe, when they know they won't be punished for being who they are, when they realize that love doesn't have to mean sacrificing their independence. And that kind of growth doesn't happen through force, it happens through patience. It happens when they experience a relationship that doesn't try to control them, that doesn't chase them when they need space, that doesn't make them feel guilty for how they're wired. And the more they feel that, the more they start to trust. Trust that they won't lose themselves in love. Trust that they can step forward without immediately needing to step back. Trust that they can let their guard down little by little and still be accepted. And that's when you start to see the change. Maybe it's in the way they share a little more about what they're feeling instead of shutting down. Maybe it's in the way they reach out first instead of always waiting for you to do it. Maybe it's in the way they start to stay a little longer in moments of closeness without pulling away. It's subtle, but it's real. Most people miss this because they're looking for something bigger. They expect an avoidant to suddenly wake up one day and love differently, to transform into someone who craves constant connection, to change into a person who expresses love exactly the way they want. But that's not how growth works. You don't force it. You don't demand it. You create the right conditions, and then you let it unfold. And when you do that, when you give an avoidant the space to evolve without pressure, you start to see something powerful. You start to see that they were capable of love all along. They just needed to show it in a way that felt safe to them.